What's indeed going on, Jerome's? It was a bit of a poop show last night against the crooked Chicago Bears, the Vikings. It was a tough one. Like, how does your defense only give up 12 points and you lose? But Dobbs and his 4 interceptions, Kevin O'Connell coaching not to lose, not to win. I don't know. But it's tough, but also tough. So after the Vikings started 0-3, we blamed the start on this shirt, right? And I actually put it away. I forgot why I put it away, but the wife found it, and the wife was actually kind of put off because she spent the money to get this shirt, and initially I thought it was cursed, but also how cursed can it be with these last 2 games against the Broncos and the Bears? So I brought the shirt back. The wife spent a couple shekels on it, and it's a thought that counts, and I can break any curse, right? 'Cause how much worse can it be? Like, is Sean Mannion going to start against the Raiders? Actually, who knows? Who knows, man? But it is tough, but it is Tell the Truth Tuesday, delayed a day because of Monday Night Football. But let's dive in, talk about our favorite team. First up, number 1, the defense is top 5. And I understand, well, they gave up the touchdown drive against Russell and the Giants, and they gave up the field goal drive against the Bears. Fully understand that. But like we said last night, if your defense has to be perfect every single drive, you don't deserve to win. And the Vikings defense should not be asked to be the 85 Bears or 2,000 Ravens every single time. They've allowed 1 touchdown over 8 quarters. 33 points allowed over 2 games. That is elite. Their lack of big plays is elite. They're getting better on 3rd down and red zone and 4th down. So, this defense, you got to give your hat. Take your hat off to Brian Flores and the way that they've completely transformed this defense. Danielle Hunter, Josh Metellus, Ivan Pace Jr., they're all getting after it. Sheldon Day had some great moments. And, yeah, the defense is top 5. You can win a lot of games, and you can really go deep in the playoffs with this defense. If you can get your offense right. I don't know if that's going to happen, man. But next up, number 2, Kevin O'Connell needs to give up play calling. Now, to a degree, this could be knee-jerk reaction, but also, the Vikings, Kevin O'Connell is to blame for the Bears' loss. Straight up is. The game plan was terrible. The play calling on that final drive after the fumble recovery was atrocious. The playing not to win against the Broncos, that's essentially what happened in Denver. They left the door open, and Russell eventually took it. And also, the whole Saints win. It should have been a blowout, but Kevin O'Connell playing super conservative in the second half allowed Jameis and the Saints to come marching back in. So the last 10 quarters of football for Kevin O'Connell have been some of the worst coach football I've seen in a long time. Now, does this all come down to play calling? No, but I do think that the Vikings need to shake things up. And I do think that Wes Phillips could change things, could be a little bit more aggressive. And what's been so frustrating is, especially in the Bears game, is like, how are you not using Josh Dobbs' mobility? I don't understand that at all. Like, Kevin O'Connell basically ran the vanilla preseason offense for a pocket quarterback. It was just ridiculous, man. Speaking of Dobbs, so Dobbs needs to be benched. Like, this needs to be shut down, where Josh Dobbs is a fun story, a good dude, can do some things. It's great, but he's a liability. 4 interceptions, and a fistful of 2 of the interceptions were off, well, actually 3 of the interceptions were off of deflections, but they were on ill-advised throws, except for the Addison one, and he probably threw about 6 or 7 passes that should have been picked off by the Bears, including a pick 6 by Jalen Johnson, and his decision-making has not been great. It seems like ever since he actually got into the playbook and actually learned his teammates' names, like, it seems like he's a step slow versus what happened in the Cardinals game in the first half of the Saints game, where he just played. And if he can't get back to that, he needs to be benched. Because as of right now, with the fumbles and the interceptions, he's too much of a liability right now. And next up, number 4, Jaren Hall needs to start against the Raiders, because Jaren Hall looked really damn good on that second drive against the Falcons. Don't forget that. And also, I know that Nick Mullins is in the mix, but what are you going to do with Nick Mullins? And I know that he was QB2 with everyone healthy against the Bears, and there was even some thought about Kevin O'Connell putting in Nick Mullins over Josh Dobbs, but Jaren Hall, not saying he's the future, but I think that he has a much higher ceiling than Nick Mullins. I think that he does give you a chance, and I do think that Jaren Hall could spice things up. Will he make mistakes? Yes, but will he make Mistakes on the level of Josh Dobbs? No, especially given his track record of taking care of the football at BYU. I don't think that he's going to put your ass in the jackpot. Next up, number 5, the Vikings need JJ back. And yeah, it was a fun run and a fun story. Oh, the Vikings won 5 straight games without Justin Jefferson. La-ti-da-da-da. But a lot of that was because of the defense. But the offense just has no called, no showed. I mean, the Broncos game was a bit of a slog. And also the Madison fumble was not great. Also, the Dobbs fumbles were no good. Plus, the 4 interceptions was just a mess. And part of it is, I mean, would Justin Jefferson back in the lineup, do you score more than 13 points at home? I would hope so. But the thing about it is, like, there hasn't been a consistent deep threat. And you saw in the first play of the game against the Bears that Kevin O'Connell was trying to open things up to Addison on that skinny post. I mean, he's adamant that he caught it. Maybe it should have been challenged. Who knows? But having JJ back is a game changer. And no matter who's at quarterback, it's going to open things up. And I know not all hamstring injuries are created equal. And yes, JJ needs to be 100% before he returns, because he plays all out, no gas, no brakes, or all gas, no brakes. There you go. But if he's good to go for the last 5 games of the season, got to have it, because the Vikings should beat the Raiders. The Vikings should beat the Bengals. The Vikings should be 8-6 heading into the final stanza against 2 games against the Lions, 1 against the Packers, 2 of the 3 games at home. So it's a very important stretch coming up. Only home division games left at US Bank Stadium. Next up, truth number 7, 6, whatever. Ryan Wright has been horrible. And as good as he was last year, he's been absolutely ass this year. And just the whole net punts of 22 yards, 25 yards is inexcusable. And something's got to be done. And I don't think that they should just roll with him as the default punter the rest of the way. I think that they should, at minimum, bring in a couple of veterans for tryouts, maybe try to light fire under his ass, like what they should have done with Greg Joseph earlier in the season. And it sucks because Ryan Wright, he's a cool dude, and he was really good last year, but for whatever reason, he has not been good this year. Number 7, Kirk Cousins made himself some money last night. I mean, so Kirk probably at home, got his foot up. He's doing the rest, ice, compression, elevation. I'm basically a doctor now, but I mean, Asians know rice. But I mean, Kirk Cousins, over the last couple of games, like once he got past Dobbs mania, the passion out was a fun story. But Kirk Cousins was playing at an MVP level when he got hurt, and like he's shown that the offensive struggles the last couple of games have. I mean, Kirk was that guy, and even without JJ, Kirk was dialed in. He was operating. I mean, that Niners win was fantastic, but I think that even at 36 and even coming off of Achilles, I think the Vikings and Kirk Cousins will work something out. And we had said before, and it was the truth, that Josh Dobbs could secure himself the job next year, but he didn't do it. Over the last 2 games, he certainly has not done that. So I think we can close that chapter. Dobbs may not even start Week 14. But we'll go from there. But I do think right now Kirk Cousins is the overwhelming favorite to return as quarterback of the Vikings in 2024. Whether you like it or not, it's up to you. Next up, number 8, jobs on the line. Now, I do think that the 2022 13-4 season won some more. Definitely bought Kevin O'Connell and company some time, but you can only use the Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins excuse so far, because the Vikings have done great at next man up mentality, and they did roll through 5 straight wins in the middle of the calendar, including wins over the Niners, who are obviously a tough team. The Packers are allegedly a playoff team, and the Falcons are right now in the lead in the NFC South. So it wasn't like it's a bunch of slappies there. And also the Saints formerly were in the lead in the NFC South. So but at a certain point, I mean, Kevin O'Connell's coaching cost them the last 2 games, straight up. And it nearly cost them the Saints game. So at a certain point, like, I don't think that over these last 5 games and playoffs, and yes, the Vikings are still going to make the playoffs. Don't worry about it. I'm just going to say it like a lot quieter now. The Vikings are going to make the playoffs. Currently 50%. But I don't think it's a spot where Kevin O'Connell could coach so bad where he gets fired after 2 years. I don't see it, but also, frankly, his play calling at the end of the Bears game, I mean, Frank Reich was fired for worse. But, of course, the Wolves aren't David Tepper, so we'll see. But in terms of jobs on the line, in terms of shuffling the deck on some assistants, could that happen? Yes, I think it's possible. Number 9, this team is still dangerous. Now, they could be a danger to others. They can be a danger to themselves. That's exactly where we're at right now. But, I mean, the offense, if they actually get their head out of their ass and JJ adds a spark on offense, I think that this team, if they can put up 22 points a game, with the defense playing the way it is, I think this team can win a lot of games. I think this team could be dangerous in the playoffs, right? And whether it's Dobbs, whether it's Jaren Hall, and whether it's Nick Mullins, sure. I mean, they could have a puncher's chance no matter what. And the Seahawks have 3 tough games coming up, so I could easily see them falling to 6 and 8. So that certainly helps things out. The Rams are resurgent. The Packers are whatever. But the Vikings just got to take care of your own business. Like we said, they should beat the Raiders. They should beat the Bengals. And then they basically control their own destiny in the division as well as in the conference with 3 games against divisional foes to wrap things up. And lastly, truth number 10, we're on to the Raiders. So, yes, should have beat the Bears. And that one really sucks because it was right there. And, Kevin O'Connell coaching not to lose, they lost. Same thing against the Broncos. Coaching not to lose, they lost. But there's a lot of positives to take away. That Florida's Hellfire defense is firing on all cylinders. JJ is hopefully going to be back week 14. And, the passionate revealed who he is. And it was a fun couple of games, but that time is over. So it's going to be Jaren Hall. Is it going to be Nick Mullins? Or is this going to be a spot where Josh Dobbs gets his head out of his ass and gets things together? I don't know. But either way, things got to change under center. But we'll go from there. Still 5 games. The Vikings are still in a good position to make the playoffs. And they still, if they get their ish together at the right time, can still be super dangerous. But like we said, maybe they're a danger to the other team. Maybe they're a danger to themselves and their fans. Who knows? Who knows, man? But that's it. That's at Tell the Truth Tuesday. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.